Greetings, Orphanites. Welcome back to our filmmaking vlog here on the orphanmovie.com. This is, by our count, episode 30. We're not absolutely certain, but it's by our count, so that's what we're going to go with, episode 30. And speaking of the number of episodes we've done so far, we're going to be breaking these out into seasons once we really start into production on our films. It's something that, an idea that Jacob came up with. It's going to be really based, different seasons based on the different stages of production we're in, and that'll be coming up on the website once we actually get closer into actual production on our films. I'm not exactly sure if we have a timeline on that yet or not, of exactly when, but we'll be announcing that on the website whenever we do get that up and going. This time around, I thought I'd talk a little bit about one of the shorts I'm thinking about doing. I think I've mentioned before that there's an idea I had for one that I'm kind of excited about the thought of doing. It's going to be a little bit of a mashup between an Edgar Allan Poe story and various elements of some of Shakespeare's works. I'm not really ready to go into exactly what story or what shows or anything like that, but it's like I said, it's something that I've been intrigued by, and I've started looking into it a little bit more. I haven't actually started building on the story yet any more than what I have in my mind already. One of the things I've started looking into is murder and revenge in Shakespeare's plays, which is a main theme of one of the Poe story I'm planning on using. That is a very strong element, and also, of course, a lot of Shakespeare's stories are based on or have elements of revenge and or murder in them. One of the things I've kind of been surprised at this point, I've started doing a little bit of basic research, and I've kind of was kind of surprised whenever I started Googling and finding that whenever you Google murder and revenge in Shakespeare's plays, you don't get a whole lot of results. I kind of expected there would just be tons and tons of things out there, people that have written, their thesis on, murder and revenge in Shakespeare or something like that, and, all kinds of papers written on it and that kind of thing. And I mean, there's several things out there, but just not the plethora of information I was expecting to see. It turns out it's a little more effort going to be involved in doing this than I thought there was going to be. Like I actually had to sit down and reread some of the plays to actually find the elements I'm looking for. I know the shows I'm wanting to read because I know the ones that have the information I'm wanting, and of course there's the one Poe story that this is mostly based on, but I'm going to look at a little more into some of his other works as well. There's some of the 2 or 3 other stories I can think of just off the top of my head that would tie into this as well. So I may kind of expand out a little. I was just going to go with this one Poe story, but I may kind of bring in some elements of some of his other stories as well. I mean, if you have an odd interest in that kind of thing like I do, I'm sure you're maybe have your interest piqued by this a little bit. I'm hoping it is, at least. Like I said, this is something I think is going to be an interesting exercise, if nothing else. Even if it turns out that this isn't going to work, I think it's going to be fun, at least going back and rereading some of these stories, because I've always loved Poe's works, and of course I've always loved Shakespeare as well. I find Shakespeare, going back to the previous vlog, speaking of acting, I've always found Shakespeare very hard to perform. I've only done it a couple of times. It's just something that's not really in my wheelhouse. I have nothing but respect for the people that can do it, pull it off well. As far as Poe's works, I think he's just an absolute master. I know there's other people that love other authors like Lovecraft. I haven't really ever gotten into his works. I probably should. Maybe that's something I actually like to look into as I'm doing research on this as well. Just maybe a little bit of his work is also. I don't want this to be too much of a mashup. I mean, I know what the basic elements of the story are, where I want to go with it. It's just a matter of getting there and doing it in a way that's going to make sense, and being able to use these different elements, especially the Shakespearean ones, because there's a lot of lines that in Shakespeare's works that I'd absolutely love to use in this. It's just I'd have to find a way to modernize them so that, or maybe use them as written. Maybe have it, the character, actually quoting Shakespeare and being a Shakespeare scholar, and so he knows all these lines or something. I don't know exactly. I hadn't decided yet, but it's turns out it's a little bit different or actually a lot different from writing the other shorts that I have lined up, and even different from the Orphan. I mean, the Orphan was just completely, just completely out of my head, and I didn't really use any outside resources on it. So actually basing work on something that's already existing and trying to adapt it and incorporate other elements from disparate sources is actually a little bit bigger of a task than I thought it was going to be. But if it all comes together like I think it's going to, it should be a really, really interesting final product whenever we get it done. That's really about all I had ramble on about this time around. If you want to contact us, of course, you can email us at realorphanmovie.com. Our social media presence is The Orphan Movie. That's on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And we have our home on the web, which is, of course, theorphanmovie.com, which is where you'll find these vlogs, the seasons whenever we get those broken down. And there's also where you'll find our email list, which we're going to try and fire up here pretty soon. Anyways, that wraps it up for us this time around. I'm probably still on vacation when you're seeing this, so I'll be coming back. I may be a little bit more tanned, a little more relaxed. I don't know. I hope so. At any rate, I'll have more to go on about and be coming up with ideas for new vlogs, and we'll keep it rolling and going until we get all of this done, which is, I don't know when it's going to be. I know we got the first short coming up, like I said, about the time we get back from vacation. We're going to be trying to get that going, and from there we'll see what happens. Anyways, that's all for this time. We'll see you next week right here on theorphanmovie.com.